Democrats just showed their true colors during Trump's speech in Congress. Their message for the American people, pure, unadulterated chaos. Some held signs, some wore pink or black or shirts declaring kings unwelcome in America. Not 5 minutes into the speech, Congressman Al Green of Texas was removed from the chamber after shouting down Donald Trump. He just kept screaming, "You have no mandate." Considering how the president won by a landslide in both the Electoral College and the popular vote, I kind of think he does. But seriously though, guys, with everything that they did both during and after President Trump's speech to Congress, they just proved what the American people have been saying all along, that none of the Democrats are able to break through and meet the political moment. Now, honestly, it just showed how they just can't keep up with President Trump. I mean, he's moving at breakneck speed to radically reshape America and the world to make the country great again. And I believe that. Heck, even David Axelrod, former President Barack Obama's chief campaign strategist, said that Democrats' behavior at President Donald Trump's congressional address was ineffective. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer, he couldn't even decide on air whether he supported Al Green's disrupting President Donald Trump's congressional address. You know that's pretty bad when you got Chuck Schumer turning your back on him, right? Senator Elsa Slotkin, she delivered the Democrats' rebuttal to Trump's speech. I'll go ahead and save you time. Her conclusion was for Democrats and disaffected Trump voters to keep patient and hold their representatives accountable. Okay, sounds reasonable enough, right? But then you have Democrats like Sanders and Ocasio-Cortez who seem to call for more confrontation, talking about pressuring Republicans, not believing anything that they have to say, and saturating the media with negative news. Plus, all the other rank and file members who just seem to go along for the ride. Did you guys see that circus? Democrats completely melted down during Trump's address, proving to the entire country that they have no message, they have no plan, and they have no ability to meet the moment. You got Al Green screaming like a lunatic before being dragged out of the chamber, signs, costumes, and desperate stunts instead of actual leadership. Chuck Schumer stumbling on air, unsure if he even supports his own freaking party. You got AOC and Bernie Sanders calling for more confrontation instead of real solutions. Even Obama's top guy, David Axelrod, he had to admit that this was a total disaster. So meanwhile, you got Trump, he's moving at lightning speed, reshaping America and leaving them all in the dust. They just can't keep up. They don't know what to do. And now even their own voters are realizing that they're lost. So is the Democratic Party completely out of control at this point, guys? Type Dems imploding if you think they've lost it. Type Trump is the real problem if you think that Trump's to blame. Drop your answer in the comments. This is a moment America cannot ignore, guys. But like I said, pure, unadulterated chaos. And with a lack of purpose and unity from their leaders, they just can't put up any sort of meaningful fight against President Trump. Here, check this out. Watch how Al Green's protests were just overwhelmed by Republicans.
We won the popular vote by big numbers and won counties in our country. And won counties in our country, 2,700 to 525, on a map that reads almost completely red for Republican. Now, for the first time in modern history, more Americans believe that our country is headed in the right direction than the wrong direction. In fact, it's an astonishing record, 27-point swing, the most ever. Likewise, small business optimism saw its single largest one-month gain ever recorded, a 41-point jump.
Members are directed to uphold and maintain decorum in the House and to cease any further disruptions. That's your warning. Members are engaging in willful and continuing breach of decorum, and the chair is prepared to direct the Sergeant-at-Arms to restore order to the joint session. Mr. Green, take your seat. Take your seat, sir. Take your seat. Finding that members continue to engage in willful and concerted disruption of proper decorum, the chair now directs the Sergeant-at-Arms to restore order. Remove this gentleman from the chamber.
Now, that was a lot, but first off, wasn't it just so nice to see Nancy Pelosi not in the House Speaker seat? I'm just saying, right? Now, looking at the whole thing, you could just see the complete difference between the unruly Democrats and the orderly Republicans, right? And it was like a perfect line of like demarcation. Like it was like they parted the ocean, they parted the sea. President Trump began his joint address to congressional members discussing his election win, stating how he had won both the popular vote and the Electoral College. But just minutes into the president's speech, Al Green, not the singer, just started screaming his bloody freaking head off and leading the boos and protests from Democrats. But of course, they were just eventually drowned out by the Republicans shouting, USA, USA. Now, I mean, doesn't that sound like a perfect metaphor for America right now, guys? Democrats trying to divide the country with their hate and protests while Republicans are coming together to put America first. And as President Trump put it in his interrupted speech, for the first time in modern history, more Americans believe that our country is headed in the right direction than the wrong direction. But let Al Green tell it, he wasn't interested in listening at all and just pretty much just kept right on shouting. House Speaker Mike Johnson stepped in with a very civil reminder about maintaining decorum. But did Al Green listen? No, of course not. So Mike Johnson had to direct the Sergeant-at-Arms to restore order to the joint session and to remove Green from the chamber. Republican lawmakers even chanted, nah, 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 hey, hey, hey. Goodbye. Anyway, ultimately, the Democrats' protests amounted to nothing. And even David Axelrod, former chief campaign strategist to Barack Obama, said that their antics were not helpful. Here, watch this.
I don't think the performative stuff was very helpful at all last night. But, you know, here's the deal. Both parties in some ways are captives of their bases. And I think that there are a lot of members of Congress who probably come from districts that are overwhelmingly Democratic, who feel like their constituents are expecting them to be very actively protesting what the president is doing. So just as on the Republican side, you know, the base loves the stuff that enrages people who aren't in the base. And so the members respond to that. This is one of the problems with a highly polarized country.
Now, again, just goes to show how Democrats are just plain lacking in direction right now. Case in point, Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer repeatedly avoiding the question about whether he supported Al Green disrupting Trump's speech to Congress. Here's the clip.
Like 4 minutes into the speech when Congressman Al Green was yelling at the podium and he was escorted out. What was going through your head as you heard the congressman yelling?
Well, look, the bottom line is lots of people are frustrated. But the best way to protest what Trump is doing what we are doing and many senators and many congressmen are doing, and that is organizing against these horrible policies of calling Social Security a Ponzi scheme and then slashing people in Social Security offices.
That Congressman
So here's
Green,
what we're, John, here's what we're doing.
Would you rather that he not yell?
Here, let me just say, the best answer, in my judgment, is to organize. So I put a call together last week with our activists. I thought 300-400 people would get on the phone. 3,000 people got on the phone. And what we all decided was we're going to focus our energy on the 6 Republican Congress members from New York, because they hold the key to stopping these horrible policies. As you know, in the House, all you need 1 or 2. In the Senate, you need 3 or 4. We don't have Republican senators in New York, but in other states there are. And the best way to organize and protest is to organize. Organizing is hard, but it's effective, and that's what we're doing.
Well, let me ask a different way. Would you rather see Democrats more in line with what Senator Alyssa Slotkin was saying, or more in line with what Congressman Al Green and people holding signs in the audience were doing last night?
Look, I thought Alyssa Slotkin, I chose her because she is such one of our rising stars from the Midwest, won a race, knows how to talk to average folks, to working families, and she did a great job. And I think, again, the American people got more truth in her 5 minutes of her speech than with all the lies, with all the misconceptions, with all the things that were departing from reality. When Donald Trump says he's the greatest president after 30 days of chaos and hurting people since George Washington, give me a break.
Now, again, that's the Senate Minority Leader, guys, the highest ranking Democrat right now. And even he's undecided on how to approach that Al Green mess. And take note, guys, CNN host John Berman, he asked Chuck Schumer 3 times about his thoughts about Al Green's actions, but Chuck Schumer, he deflected every time. But if you look at the CNN poll conducted by SSRS, 80% of the largely Republican audience that viewed the speech felt Green's disruption was inappropriate. Just further proof of how out of touch the Democrats are getting. In fact, you even have liberal commentators praising what Green did. Radio host Charlemagne the God. Why does he even call himself that? Do you guys think he's the God? He said that he didn't mind that kind of disruption and that he actually wished that the Democrats would have been more disruptive. Go figure, right? He even added that more Democrats should have stood up with him. Then, of course, we had the ladies from The View, Sunny Hostin in particular. She said that she was looking for signs of an opposition party and that after Al Green was tossed out, she expected the rest of the Democratic caucus, the rest of his colleagues, to walk out with him. Here's the clip.
I was looking for signs of an opposition party, which is what the Democratic Party must be at this point, not a resistance, because resistance is passive. Opposition is active. And I think that what I saw when Representative Al Green stood up and said, you don't have a mandate to take away Medicaid, and he was tossed out, I expected the rest of his Democratic caucus, the rest of his colleagues to walk out with him. Because alone you can survive, but together you thrive. That is the energy that we need. They should have stood with him in solidarity.
So what do you guys think? Are you for such displays of disorderly conduct from Congress? Drop a quick yes or no in the comments, guys. Hit the like button if you guys are appreciating our discussion. And while you're at it, go ahead and subscribe to the channel too. Appreciate that, guys. We're growing our family right here on YouTube. So honestly, guys, the Democrats' protests would be so funny if they just weren't so sad, right? I mean, just take a look at this clip of a Democrat holding a sign reading, "This is not normal," and a Republican grabs and throws it. Watch. Some were holding signs, others wore pink or black or shirts declaring kings unwelcome in America. Then you got Congressman Al Green of Texas shouting and getting kicked out. What a freaking mess. But let me say, this actually proves just how historically significant this speech was to Congress. Because apart from the record numbers President Trump was able to achieve in November and in just his first month in office, what makes this all that much more historic is witnessing the Democratic Party's gradual decline into a state of complete irrelevance. Kind of like they're destined to consume themselves and render themselves obsolete for the next 4 years, even the next 4 decades, maybe. Now, honestly, guys, I sincerely hope that they continue to pursue this path because it's just going to mean that we continue to enjoy a prosperous and thriving nation. You know what I mean? Michigan Senator Alyssa Slotkin, she delivered the official Democratic response. She focused on unity and the 3 core beliefs that Americans broadly share: middle class, national security, and democracy. Then she said there is a responsible way to make change and a reckless way. It was fine and all, but really, did anybody stay up to watch it after Trump's 100-minute address to the joint session, the longest ever in history? Another record, right? Other House Democrats had handheld signs. They said things like save Medicaid, protect veterans, and Musk steals. People called them bingo signs, you know, like the old ones that old people used to hold up when they win the game. Even liberals made fun of them online and said that they wanted more aggressive resistance to the president. Democrats also walked out. Some of them had protest shirts saying things like "No kings live here." Oh, and don't forget, no Democrats clapped or stood for Trump during his 2-hour speech. No applause even for the hugely popular Laken Riley Act. Yikes, right? Some Democrats like Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Senator Chris Murphy boycotted Trump's speech in person and instead decided to go the social media route with real-time responses to Trump's speech and live stream rebuttals. But you know what? All of that seemed just to empower Trump rather than boost the Democrats' own standing with audiences. One CNN flash poll after the address found a majority of viewers viewed the address as very or somewhat positive, including 44% who had said that they had a very positive reaction. Even after the speech, Democrats were all over the place. The official rebuttal from Senator Elissa Slotkin was about how prices are still too high and that Americans want change, but in a responsible, not reckless way. Then, of course, you got AOC on IG Live and Blue Sky on a whole other point about the supposed threat that Trump's proposed tax cuts pose to Medicaid and Medicare. Other House members talked about Trump's new tariffs against China, Canada, and Mexico, or focused their reactions on the proposed tax cuts as gifts to his billionaire friends. Even Senator Bernie Sanders laid into Trump's parallel reality of focusing on issues nowhere near the concerns of the American people. Really, guys? I just wanted to make a group chat for them and tell them, just pick a struggle, you know? Because seriously, they were all over the place. Slotkin's conclusion was for Democrats and disaffected Trump voters to keep patient and hold their representatives accountable. But then Bernie Sanders and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, they want more confrontation. They want the American people to pressure Republicans, not believe anything that they have to say, and saturate the media with negative news. Now, really, just a complete lack of purpose and unity from the Democratic Party. I mean, even their approach to the media was splintered. Speaking of splinter, I went to Home Depot today and I got a splinter in my middle finger. I got to get that out of there. Anyway, comment down below what would happen if you leave a splinter in your finger. Does it just fall out or does something bad happen? Anyway, but getting back to it, they didn't boycott the address altogether and force attention to another platform. They're still relying on conventional methods of communicating with the public. Let's just say the moment passed and they just weren't able to break through to America. Because see, when big presidential speeches happen, they really grab the attention of Americans who are super into politics right from the start. But for everybody else, they'll catch the highlights and the reactions, especially the Democrats, through short clips online, discussions on podcasts and live streams, and news reports that follow. Were Democrats able to grasp any of that? Highly doubtful. I mean, Trump's message was crystal clear. He's on a mission to make America great again, and he's not going to let the likes of Democrats like Congressman Al Green slow him down. Meanwhile, Democrats, all I heard yet again was racist this and threats to democracy that. You know what I mean? Drop a quick yes or no in the comments, guys. Let me know what you think about the Democrats' reaction to Trump's speech. And of course, if you want more content like this, stay tuned for our recommended videos at the end of this one. Definitely some great follow-ups to what we just discussed. Now, speaking of which, appreciate you guys hitting the like button and subscribing. We'll see you guys on the next one.